My name is Dr. Ashura Adama Abubakar. I'm the first president of Mandela Washington Fellows back in 2014 when we come back from the fellowship.
My name is Farida Yahya. I am a 2021 Mandela Washington Fellow.
My name is David Francis Effiong. I am a data scientist and a development worker.
My name is Moaz Al-Hajimodu. I am an activist and community organizer working on social accountability, civic engagement, and democracy and governance.
So my name is Ifenla Olivide. I'm a lawyer, a writer, an inclusion advocate, and a young woman in politics.
My name is Hawa Liman. I am a 2016 Mandela Washington Fellow.
It brings a lot of nostalgic moments, right? So went in as Washington Fellows. That was the name then. And during our presidential summit, the Mandela bit was added in honor of Nelson Mandela.
The new name of this program is the Mandela Washington Fellowship. You're the first class of Mandela Washington Fellows. That's right.
Initially, people felt across the continent that the U.S. government is taking us to U.S. to make us some CIA agents or so to come in to fight some governments. Our colleagues, I remember from Zimbabwe also after the fellowship, were taken straight from the airport, were taken up by the security agent for debrief. What have they taught you? And myself, a relative told me that he doesn't trust me because I'm a CIA agent. Perhaps that level of mixed and difficult misinterpretation of what's the purpose, because people could not comprehend why will the US take 500 Africans and just keep them somewhere within its shores, teach them things that we don't know what they are teaching them, we don't know what they are exposing them to. Why would they just altruistically do that?
I studied biochemistry for my undergrad, and I was going to stay fully in the lab, happily. But then when I went for my National Youth Service in Kano, I would say that's where the shift started, because I realized that I wanted to do something for myself, not just be an employee, but also be able to employ people. So that circled me back to my passion, which was hair care. And I set up one of Abuja's foremost natural hair care solutions brand called Lumo Naturals. Through the salon, I was able to have conversations with women who were either within the community or even our customers. And I realized that there was a need for women to be able to get access to mentorship and also support, well-defined enterprise education so that they can actually grow their businesses into generational wealth. This sparked my interest to be able to start what I call the Brief Academy. And through the Brief Academy, I started to go to different states to be able to teach women how to run their businesses better.
Throughout my childhood, like any other childhood in the northeastern part of Nigeria, we have serious challenges of accessing basic social services, including water, healthcare, and education. This terrible childhood experience, coupled with violent conflict of Boko Haram insurgency that started in the region in 2009, which destroyed a lot of basic infrastructures like schools, healthcare facilities, and other infrastructures, further worsened the access to social services in the region. This inspires me to start thinking, how can we start working around something that has a durable solution in the region for the people to have access to basic social services. And most importantly, because of the humanitarian crisis in the region, a lot of civil society organizations and young people focuses more on providing the humanitarian intervention and aid while neglecting the most important aspect of the governance, which is the core of the problem in the region.
It started in 2012 when I visited my community in Chibok, and I visited the hospital, and I saw 2 women died in the labor room. And also within the 3 days I stayed in that community, I've had cases of mortalities in the hospital, especially children under 5 years. There's so much is high. The mortality rate was high. I asked a lot of questions. Where is the doctor? They don't have a doctor at that time. And at that time, of course, the communities was affected by the insurgency around the communities, and many people do not want to come to work there. I tried to ask more questions about that in 2013, and they told me that every doctor they posted into that community wouldn't want to. And I felt, why am I a doctor then?
I was working at Kaduna in the heat of the Fulani crisis. I was working as an editorial person and almost like an investigative journalist. And I got to see firsthand what the lack of education does to young people. And the violence, the lack of opportunities to blossom actually improved their propensity for violence. And I had a close-knit session with some of my friends and colleagues and professors in the university. And we started having conferences in the University of George. We had conferences in University of Lagos, in Yaba Tech, in Veritas University. The more I had these conferences, opportunities to talk with young people about what exactly the challenges are in terms of youth empowerment, I discovered that at the core of this is beyond poverty. The core of this is the fact that there are certain communities in this country that government intervention is either low or non-existent. This even worsened when I found myself working in the south of Nigeria.
Growing up, I saw so many women who gave up their careers to take care of their children, their families, which is not in fact a bad thing. But later or further down the line, they started to regret that they made that decision because they realized that they didn't have any savings, even the money that their spouses were giving them for upkeep and all of that, they were not saving it. So at the point where they wanted to now start a business, when the children were older, when they wanted to go to university and all of that, they didn't have any or they couldn't make any meaningful contribution to the business. So I realized that that didn't go down well with me. I had aunties who along the way who didn't necessarily have any business or any career, and they lost their husbands, and they also didn't have savings. And I just thought to myself, how would you send your child to school at that point? How would you be able to give your child health insurance? You can't necessarily do anything at that point in time, especially when you don't have any work experience. So I took it upon myself to start educating women, build a community, and let them know that they can actually build support systems.
I have a very interesting story about how I was selected to fellowship. As I mentioned, I was selected for the fellowship in the early stage of my career. In 2017, I think a friend of mine reached out to me with the application that Moazu kindly applied for this opportunity, and I was laughing. How can you expect me to apply for something like that? Do you think I have what it takes to be selected? He says, no, you give it a try. I say, okay, no problem. Just a day to the deadline. So it's just something I have never done in my life. So overnight, I just filled the application, basically what I'm doing with the Follow the Money then. So, and when I submitted, I just even forget that I applied for something like that. One evening, we are coming back from a trekking in one community in Kekinafe, a tricycle. So I received a text message with a number that I was invited for an interview in Jos Plateau State, that I am shortlisted for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. I was telling my colleagues, see, it's scammers, send me a text message that they are inviting me for an interview in Jos, and we are laughing all. So when I get back home, I just switch on the data, internet data of my phone, then I receive an email. When I receive an email from yaliabuja.state.gov, I told my friends that this is not a scam, this is actually true that I was selected, because like 3 months ago, I applied for a one opportunity Mandela Washington Fellowship. I think that is the why I was invited for the interview.
My fellowship experience is quite different and unique because we were what they call the COVID cohort, right? We applied in 2019, got called for interview early 2020, and because of the lockdown and what was happening around the world, our fellowship was shifted from 2020 to 2021. We had hopes of being able to go to the US in 2021. However, the State Department had to make that tough decision to have us actually do our fellowship virtually.
I'd applied for the Mandela Washington since forever. I applied in 2020, I wasn't accepted. I applied in 2021, the same thing. 2022, the same thing. At some point, I was like, maybe this MWF is not for me.
Actually, I didn't take it so seriously until the fellows for 2014 had started their engagement in the United States. And I knew someone who applied for it. So I was seeing her post on social media and I got so jealous, oh my goodness, I should have been one of these fellows doing their program in the US. She was always posting about the various activities, the engagements they were holding. I think what even inspired me the most, or what kind of scattered my head, was during the presidential summit when I saw them with President Obama, with Michelle Obama, and the whole, activity that was surrounded at the presidential summit. So I'm like, 2015, I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity. I was so inspired. I was taken by the beauty and the experience.
I actually watched an interview on NTA. It was Grace, 2015 fellow, and she's a singer, and she got the fellowship. Me, I was just thinking that maybe it was those people that are inventing machineries, people in tech, are those who qualify for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. So when I watched that interview, I was like, wow, if Grace could get it, I could get it. I'm in the area of art, I'm in the area of music also. So that was when I tried. I applied for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. That was the first time I applied for it.
I happened to be one of the few persons with disabilities that were picked among, I think we were 100. I can't recall the number. I think about 100 of us from Nigeria in 2015.
I applied for the first time. I was picked for an interview, but eventually my interview area I used was not good for the interview. After I finished the interview, when I opened for 2023, I apply again. I have a very low minute, that is 20 minutes. I go and applied for passport, and I overcome myself that I'm going to get this fellowship, and I made it. Because I put all my energy into it to advance my skills.
The good thing is that my life changed after the Mandela Washington Fellowship.
The experience is something that I can remember every bit of it till today.
Interestingly, it was a fun-filled learning experience. It was not the typical academic experience as we had known it in the university days. It was an interesting blend.
I was sent to one of the most prestigious places, Presidential Precinct, University of Virginia, where I had the opportunity of meeting and getting to learn a lot from other young African leaders from across the sub-Saharan African countries. And learning about the amazing work they are doing, impacting their communities, just learning about their various cultures and how we can explore cross-country collaborations.
It's been a life-changing experience, sincerely. And from the cohorts, the meeting the Nigerian team, the pre-departure orientation in Abuja, for the first time, all of us came, about 100 of us or thereabout. I made friends instantly, people that I still relate with till date, people that have become family.
I got so many positive challenge that pushed me more on the positive side of realizing my vision and dreams. And at that time, I was doing humanitarian services without, depicting where I want to go. What is my target, long-term target? Those things are not too clear.
For me personally, it was the most amazing thing that could have happened to me because it gave me an opportunity to be able to still be home, but also have a full, cultural experience. I remember one of the lessons, which was human-centered design, that was taken by, one of the professors at the university, and she was talking about the importance of talking to people first before you come up with solutions and making sure that they're able to own those solutions, right? And it's actually sustainable even after you have left, so the impact is longer.
I think it was going to Tesla and Microsoft and just seeing firsthand the work that they are doing compared to all the businesses I've seen in Nigeria. It was very, very visionary, especially Tesla. I think it changed my mindset altogether, what one person can envision and just bring to life just from their mindset.
It gave a robust experience. We had an experience at UVA, then Williams and Mary. Even in the University of Virginia, that's UVA, we had an experience at the Frank Barton School of Leadership and Public Policy, and also another experience at the School of Business, as it were. So it was an interesting blend.
We learned how to bring people back into society. We call it re-entry system, where people who have been convicted or who have been sentenced for a number of years, what do we need to do when they're coming back into society? So these are some of the things that we have learned over there in the course of a 6-week executive program. I met with the governor of Massachusetts in Boston. We met with the senators. I learned about the governance system in the states, how they had a bicameral legislature at the state level.
During the fellowship, I was at Indiana University, Bloomington. I had fellows from, I think, 17 African countries in my own institute there, and we were all doing things in the same field. Either they were journalists, or they were working with children, or they were lawyers doing some things with human rights and children related, or they were medical doctors too who were pediatricians or early childhood development. So it was like a link, and that's what the fellowship does for you. It brings people of like minds to you. People study in the same place, so you can easily collaborate, network, partner with each other. So I had a very good relationship, general baseline with my fellows from my cohort.
Turning to Nigeria, there was that pressure of, okay, what next? Now I've gone to the abroad, I'm back, and people are waiting. She has to come back with something loud. And that pressure would have been, if I had not learned the skills I learned, that pressure would have been a depressing point for me. More like you're going high and then suddenly you're dropping and it's like you don't have any other thing to show for it again. So I would say those skills we learned were there for me. The project I was designing at that point, I'm presently at the process of launching because of those skills in the last one. It's like a year already. So I would say those experiences helped me to this point where I am now.
When I was writing, I have to resonate and think more deeply on where am I going from here to where? What do I want to achieve? How do I want to impact lives? I have to structure it. And that changed my vision scope completely. And after then, of course, I discovered that I even realized my dream in a very short time after the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And of course, the broader perspective of my response, because I was able to work with United Nations Population Fund, where their work is more, their mandate is more related to my vision. And I think I was able to achieve a lot.
2020, my work was recognized as the 30 most inspiring digital innovation across the globe in Netherlands. And in 2020, again, my work was being recognized at the top 20 best innovation on democracy and governance by the African Union. In 2021, my work was recognized for the African Civic Action Prize in Abidjan in 2022. My work was selected for a Young Global Recoupling Award in Germany. In 2022 again, my work is being selected for the Active Citizen Award. So this kind of consistent success and development in the work we're doing inspired a lot of young people to be also taking ownership of what they're doing and be passionate about changing their communities, so they can also be in this kind of platforms.
The peer collaborator I had then, we were able to win the reciprocal exchange component of the fellowship. She came to Nigeria, we did a project, we had an entrepreneurship boot camp for young girls in Lagos. It was her first time coming to Africa, so it was a life-changing experience for her and for me. And for my colleagues in Austin, I still won the Leveraging Innovation in New Communities grant in 2022, and we partnered with one of my cohort member from Tanzania, Carol Indosi, and we executed that project here in Nigeria. It was an entrepreneurship training for women in internally displaced people's camp. So by and large, the fellowship has been a life-changing experience for me.
I came back home and all I wanted to do was to see how I can improve on access. Accessible transportation, accessible political participation, access to healthcare, access to education. For me, it was all about access, because I experienced firsthand what access looks like or looks like. I could access the bus, I could access the restroom, I could access the shopping mall, I could access a lot of places without being assisted, being helped, being aided. And those were the things I wanted to bring back home.
The fellowship is structured in such a way that it brings a lot of young people from Africa, where we were able to network and share knowledge. Another thing also is when we went to United States, they have a mentorship and coaching programs, and some of the great people that I met there over there were able to positively influence my life.
Sometimes you have ideas, it's very ambitious. You think maybe you are the only one that thinks in this particular line, but it was really inspiring to meet other people that are from this same place you call home, and then they have the same ideas as you. It's stretching that out. Even amongst Africa, we had to meet fellows from at least 8 countries in Africa, and it was really inspiring to see that the same passions we have, they also share them.
I, to a large extent, see the Mandela Washington Fellowship as providing a network of young persons that are focused on impact, whether in business, whether in public service, whether in civic leadership, and equipping them with capacity for sustainable impact. For me, that is a huge deal.
It's another thing for you to know something, and it's another thing for you to say, yes, yes, my goals are really, really valid. And I'll say MWF gave that to me at that point in 2023.
Before the fellowship, I was afraid to stand before a large audience, but when I go to America, I feel free to stand anywhere I want, to share my idea, my opinions, my recognition, topics, including interpretation, technology. When I come back here, I can be able to do all to stand in front of large audience. I also join many teams that I can't join them before I go to America. I changed my view.
During the presidential summit in Washington, D.C., where I was picked to introduce President Barack Obama during the presidential summit. Mind-blowing, beautiful experience. And I have that portrait on my wall, both in my house and in the office. And it just reminds me every day that these opportunities do abound. And you just keep doing what you're doing, and you'd be amazed at who is saying it, who it's been impacted. Because I remember one of the things that President Barack Obama said to me is that in his very witty voice, "Hey Grace, how are you? I've heard so much about you and the great work you're doing in Nigeria. You keep it up." And I'm like, "Oh, President Obama knows about the work I do in Nigeria." And of course, I came up stage to introduce him up to come address us during the presidential summit. And it's such a big and beautiful opportunity that I still, live with every day.
I don't think there's any program as great as this because of the African connection. That is something that is so unique to to this program compared to any other program. The connection between African fellows, where you get to live with people you've never met before, but you now bond. Because you have similar issues, similar challenges, though you're from different countries. So that's something that struck me. And today we're all like brothers and sisters. We keep in touch. And of course, we're planning a reunion, though we're not sure where or how, but we're just hoping that one day it will happen.
I see that there's hardly any African country that I go to now that I don't know someone because of the fellowship, right? Last year, I did a tour across 3 African countries, and from my flight was the only thing I paid for, right? From accommodation to feeding to even going around to even see places in the country, everything was paid for by other fellows, just by the virtue of the fact that I am a Mandela Washington Fellow.
It means connectivity. Like now, I have friends all over Africa. I have connections, network all over Africa. I have friends. I don't think I'll be stranded in Africa anywhere I go to. So that is one thing the Mandela Washington Fellowship has given to me.
They welcomed us. They opened their arms to us. There were 25 of us in my set. And yes, it was almost all academics, but they were able to free up their program enough for us to be able to meet with American community. I met a Nigerian woman who gave me ogbono soup.
The entire fellowship experience for me has been of growth, has been of determination. Like, you just wake up and there are new ideas and new innovations, and there are people that you can work with. So if I'm thinking of doing something across an African country, because of what another fellow is doing, it's easier for you to just run the idea with each other, come up with those new innovations, and you're already working across other countries.
Mandela Washington Fellow, you need to understand this thing. United States government invested huge amount of resources in your professional and personal development. They can do a lot of things with that taxpayers' money, but they choose to invest in you because they believe and their expectations you are amongst the next generation of African leaders. So for you to be in that platform, you need to brace off and meet up to that expectation and continue the work you're doing to ensure you're part of the prediction of the United States government that you will be part of the next generation of African leaders.
I want to be able to say that, now we've had so persons who have been elected or appointed, and they were once fellows and they are doing great things. And with that, then what else can Obama ask for? Because he was the one that started this to start with. So I would say for me that is just it. And from there, you would start seeing the need for us to have results or solutions, like having youths who have employment, youths who are entrepreneurs, youths who are diplomats, international ambassadors, and what have you. But because we have a country that is working. Why? Because we decided to include youths and women in governance.
My most important take home is we do not have monopoly of problems. Problems are everywhere. But as I move, it's a conscious decision that I make. What do I want to project? My strength or my weakness? The strength of our nation or the weakness of our nation? And I choose to always project the strength.
I don't think we are learning what Americans are doing and enforcing it in Nigeria now. It's to understand how they meander through the challenge and localize it in our own context. Another way also is to sell Nigerians to America also. They need to see positivity, how Nigerians is also, Africa is so resourceful. I think it should be a symbiotic relationship where the US also have a lot to gain from Africa, and Africa also have a way of gaining from America.
Whether or not you're a part of this fellowship experience, your work is still impactful and valuable, and your community needs you to continue. Africa needs you. I keep saying that the future is not far anymore. It's here. The future is now. And I truly believe that the young people in Africa would be the ones that would build the Africa that we want. Because Africa has one of the youngest populations in the world, right? More than 60% of our population is under 35. And you see the drive, right, and the vision and the dream that young people have across all the sectors. And you see how much they're pushing to be able to do more, just so that we can have our rightful place in the world, right, as young leaders. So I would say continue the work that you're doing regardless. The second thing I would say is it's really, really important to build community and find people who are walking the same path as yourself. In this line of work, it's very easy to neglect yourself, right? And sometimes even neglect the relationships that you have. And that puts you in a box. You feel so alone. You feel you have that savior mentality. But savior mentality will not help us in Africa. You need to be able to connect with people. Their perspectives, the things that people know that are not in books, they're in those people. So you need to have intergenerational connection. Go to the older people, go to the younger people, have those conversations and understand how they can make what you are doing better.
One thing I'll advise them is they should try as much as possible to be authentic. Because some of them, because of the pressure, some of them because they really just want to get in, they do not get to be as authentic as possible. And they easily fall off as the journey starts. So identify what it is that you want, understand the program on its own, sit down and understand the different tracks and know the one that will really benefit you.
The Mandela Washington Fellowship identifies leaders, and leaders are people who also help to build other leaders. So that just tells the story of, creating, more leaders. So even though every year they pick a certain number, but the impact of those people actually, it creates a ripple effect of building more leaders. So leading up to now, the 10th year anniversary is fantastic because we have thousands of people, across Africa who are leaders, who are continually impacting the lives of other people, building other leaders. So I see that the Mandela Washington Fellowship is a fantastic program that helps to build, the leaders of the world.